Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Media Pulse. It has been an exciting week full of developments in Thai politics.
You're right. As we have been saying, Thai politics is never short of excitement and surprises. And we can say the same thing for the past 1 week.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the biggest political event that we're going to talk about is, of course, the no confidence motion that the opposition parties lodged against Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra.
But what is particularly interesting is that targeting only the Prime Minister, Kun Paetongtarn, is widely seen by the Thai media as a last-minute change of mind by the opposition bloc, led by the People's Party. Because earlier, the opposition bloc reportedly planned to censure the Prime Minister along with several cabinet members. But somehow, details of the planned censure were leaked amid complaints that there might be a mole in the opposition ranks.
Yep.
So to be on the safe side, they dropped the list of the cabinet members that they would want to have censured and concentrate only on the Prime Minister herself.
Yeah, and this would be the biggest political test for the 39-year-old leader who is facing her first serious trial in the House. In the eyes of the opposition, even though the Paetongtarn government has been in office for almost 6 months now, it has yet to deliver anything that is noteworthy.
And worse still, according to the opposition, Paetongtarn is void of experiences and qualifications as Prime Minister. The fact that Thailand has been lagging far behind other ASEAN countries in terms of economic growth, the opposition see it as a good testimony of her failure as leader.
Yeah, Kun Nathapong Ruangpanyawood, the leader of the People's Party and the opposition bloc, said Paetongtarn will also be censured for poor leadership and for allowing her father, the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, to interfere with the affairs of the state. Allowing her father to influence her governance is considered a serious failing.
This would be very interesting, Kun Claire, because it would be the first time that the Prime Minister's father
would be mentioned.
would be dragged into no confidence debate. This never happened before.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your dad.
That's right. That's right. So it would be very challenging for her how to deal with the situation. And there have been rumors that Kun Thaksin might ask to set up a team of his own in the House, in a chamber during the censure debate, so that he and his team would be ready to rebut any accusations or charges that would be made against him.
Is that legally possible?
The House Speaker, Kun Wan, was asked about this, and he said it is something that needs to be discussed.
It's never happened before in history. No. Yeah. House Speaker Wan Muhammad Nomatar said the government has indicated that it would be ready to face the motion on March 24th. He said that the government and the opposition will have to decide how long the debate should last. And apart from what's going to happen in Parliament, we're also going to talk about the war of colours.
Now, if we are to believe in the information provided by the Department of Special Investigation, or DSI, last year's much criticized Senate election should be considered the most rigged or most fraudulent in Thai history.
Yeah, well, according to DSI, more than half of the current 200 senators could be products of alleged large-scale collusion involving intricate scheming and substantial financial transactions. Yeah, so don't forget there were as many as 46,000 candidates running for the 200 seats in the Senate. And it was nothing short of mind-blowing to learn that according to DSI, whoever was behind the alleged collusion scheme succeeded in getting almost all of his preferred candidates selected according to plans.
The DSI claims to have evidence suggesting that the vast majority of the over 64,000 Senate candidates were there to serve only as voters, paid to vote for the candidates on the preferred slates. In short, the mastermind of the alleged scheme knew from the very beginning who should get elected. And now DSI wants to launch a full-scale investigation into the alleged collusion and block voting, which could lead to disqualification of many of the senators and subsequent criminal charges against them if they are found guilty at the end of the road.
Yeah, I guess the biggest question now is why DSI? Because it is an agency under Justice Ministry, and it's tasked with investigating high-profile and intricate crimes, but now is meddling with an election fraud. So isn't it supposed to be the job of the Election Commission? Another question also is why the whole affair is seen as a clear signal of the escalating rift between two major partners in the current Paetongtarn coalition government, namely the Pheu Thai and the Phumjai Thai party.
Well, we will come back to these two questions later on. But first, some background on the Senate election to help you make sense of what is going on. The Senate election was held in June last year, of course you remember. And the election process was designed under the current constitution in such a way that it was described by critics as the most complex in Thailand's history. Now, in fact, critics noted that, first of all, it should not have been called an election from the start. Because in practice, it was a self-selection process at 3 levels in which only the candidates had a say in voting among themselves. Members of the public, like yourself and myself,
we didn't
had no part whatsoever in the process.
Yeah, and the selection process began at the district level before going up to the provincial level and then the national level later. And candidates were supposed to represent a broad spectrum of professionals, so covering 20 fields. And again, we repeat that there were altogether more than 46,000 candidates. And the backgrounds and past experiences of many of them raised a lot of eyebrows.
No, in fact, there were already allegations at the outset that certain political groups were scheming to manipulate the election process because they knew there were loopholes that they could exploit. They would flood the election at all the 3 levels with candidates.
Then you know, those candidates were supposed to serve as just voters because they vote among themselves. And these people would be supplied with lists of names with preferred candidates that they were required to vote for.
Having listened to this, I believe that you may think, like we do, that it's not difficult to imagine how much resources were needed to mount such an ambitious operation. And according to DSI, the alleged mastermind of the scheme set a target of winning as many as 140 out of the 200 seats at stake in the election. So what they did, they ended up fielding as many as 100 candidates in each of the provinces. And in many cases, each of these candidates, or should we call them voters instead, right? These candidates at the district level was allegedly paid 5,000 baht each, while those at the provincial level were paid 10,000 baht each, and as much as 40,000 baht to 100,000 baht was paid to each at the national level.
That means if you make it through 3 rounds, you make a lot of money. Aggregating all the funds disbursed to these individuals throughout the process would result in staggering figures. So whoever was behind the whole affair must have a very deep pocket and a very ambitious political agenda. The DSI has even claimed to have learned that all these candidates convened separate meetings in Ayutthaya, Pathum Thani and Nakhon Nayok to finalize their plans as well and to receive their first financial installments. That's prior to the election day. And the rest of the money would be handed out after the Election Commission verified election results.
No, it looks like DSI has all the details of the alleged operation. And it even reports that on the election day at the national level, on June 26, 2024, a fleet of vans was arranged to shuttle these candidates, or as we call them, voters in disguise, shuttle them to the election venue at the Impact Forum at Muang Thong Thani in Nonthaburi. And these people stood out from the other candidates with the yellow shirts that had been prepared for them in advance.
Yeah, and the final election results turned out exactly as planned, according to DSI. So, of the 140 preferred candidates on the list, as many as 138 were elected. The other two managed to be elected as alternate candidates. So DSI is reported to have obtained some of the list of the preferred candidates, which would be used as evidence in its investigation. And the names on the list, surprisingly, match the names of those who were elected.
Surprisingly or unsurprisingly. Now back to the questions of why the DSI has become so serious about pursuing the case at this moment. Why not months ago or last year, right? So normally any offenses related to elections are handled by the Election Commission.
Yeah.
But the Commission has come under heavy criticism for alleged foot dragging in dealing with the alleged collusion in the Senate election. In fact, to be very straight, the Election Commission does not really have a good record of clamping down on vote buying or other forms of election frauds anyway. So there has been very little trust or confidence in the work of the Election Commission.
Yeah, the DSI said that it had received a separate complaint about collusion and block voting in the Senate election, and it insisted that the case falls under its purview as it deals with money laundering and criminal charges. But there is a precondition that DSI can initiate an investigation, so that's only when the case is classified as special and requires special methods of investigation. So the only special case committee of DSI can make the decision, which requires support from 2/3 majority of its 22 members.
And on the day of the meeting, on Tuesday, 3 of the 22 committee members did not show up. And the meeting was held under the media spotlight because it's very important that the committee made a decision on whether or not the case should be taken up by the DSI for investigation. But after 2 hours of discussion, the meeting decided to postpone the decision to next week on the grounds that it needed to have more information, especially from the Election Commission. However, Rangsiman Rome, an MP and a key figure of the People's Party, and who has been closely following this issue, alleged that the decision by the Special Case Committee to postpone the decision could have been a result of lobbying. He did not enoelaborate, but expressed concern that the whole thing could end up being just a political charade.
And the ongoing tussle is widely seen as, by political analysts, in the context of what is believed to be the widening rift between the two major partners in the ruling Paetongtarn coalition. So the media have described it as a wall of color. We talked about it earlier, the red and the blue corner. So in one corner is the Pheu Thai party, the core of the coalition government, whose official color is red. And in the other corner stands the Phumjai Thai party, represented by the blue color.
And we at the Media Pulse program have been referring to them as frenemies, right? Remember that?
Yes, exactly.
For their obvious love-hate relationship. The two parties have clashed over a number of issues. The latest one was over the constitutional amendment bill sponsored by MPs of the Pheu Thai party 2 weeks ago. And earlier, Phumjai Thai party threw cold water on Pheu Thai party's plan to legalize casinos and its attempts to introduce a bill designed to discourage future military intervention in politics. But what really got on Pheu Thai's nerves was how Phumjai Thai managed to exert its influence over the Senate election last year. Almost half of the successful candidates are said to be closely related to the party.
Yeah.
But Phumjai Thai leader Anutin has been repeatedly denied charges that his party bankrolled many of these candidates.
The recent local elections across the country in early February also saw a cutthroat competition between Pheu Thai and Phum Jai Thai. And in recent weeks, key members of the two parties have also traded barbs. The two parties are seen as potential rivals in the next general elections that is set for sometime in 2027. And the fact that Deputy Prime Minister Paetongtarn, who is a key figure in Pheu Thai party, sits as the chairman of the Special Case Committee has fueled speculation that the case is politically motivated. Paetongtarn has been working hard to refute the speculation though.
At this point, we hope that you are still with us because the whole thing is quite complicated and involved a lot of characters. And meanwhile, a group of senators have hit back at Justice Minister Thavisotsong, who is also vice chairman of the Special Case Committee. Kun Paetongtarn, the Deputy Prime Minister, is the chairman, right?
Yeah.
And Kun Thavi is the vice chairman. And Kun Thavisotsong has been openly adamant in having DSI pursue the Senate election fraud case. Senators have launched a signature hunt to have Thavi removed on the grounds that he has damaged the reputation of the Senate with the collusion charges.
Yeah, but not all of the senators are supportive of such move against Thavi. Senators belonging to the so-called New Breed group are worried that it would reflect badly on the legislator. One of them, Kun Angkana Nilaphaichit, said such a move would be perceived as a retaliation for the investigation being contemplated by DSI against them. So she urged senators to be open-minded and see the investigation as an opportunity to clear themselves.
Another senator belonging to the same group, Kun Nantana Nantavaropat, said an investigation by DSI should be welcomed to clear all doubts about the Senate election process. This particular group of senators have tried hard to distance themselves from the senators who are potential targets of a DSI investigation if that ever takes place.
Yeah, but why the Senate is such a coveted political prize?
Now, the Senate, serving a 5-year term, holds significant legislative review and oversight responsibilities. But its most important power is endorsing appointments to independent bodies, which include the Constitutional Court, the Election Commission, the Ombudsman, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, the Auditor General, and the National Human Rights Commission. And some of these independent bodies have come under heavy criticism for being used as political weapons. The Constitutional Court, for example, as we have been hearing, has shaped Thai politics through its decisions to dissolve political parties and impose political bans.
So in short, if anyone can exert influence over the Senate or a certain number of senators, there is strong chance that they can secure additional legislative power, especially in shaping the appointment of members of independent bodies.
No, but what is interesting is that many political analysts share a very cynical view about the ongoing Senate election fraud case. They believe that it could turn out to be just another political game between Pheu Thai and Phum Jai Thai parties without any real intention of getting to the bottom of this whole scandal.
Possible. They said Pheu Thai could be using the threat of a DSI investigation as a bargaining chip to rein in Phum Jai Thai party if Phum Jai Thai party agrees to make concessions, such as supporting some of Pheu Thai's policy initiatives or conceding certain cabinet portfolios. The DSI may decide to drop the election fraud case altogether and leave it to the EC or Election Commission.
So once again, we need to remind you that it has been almost 9 months since the Senate election, and the Election Commission has not yet shown that it's serious about investigating the alleged fraud, providing DSIs with the excuse to step in. Because since you're not doing your job, we'll help you do it. And then,
They're very sure. Another reminder, Phum Jai Thai party has consistently denied any role in Senate selection, right? Selection, election, we're still confusing. I mean, are we going to use the word election selection because people didn't vote for it? Anyway, It has also denied any connection with the senators who are potential targets of DSI investigations. But it's interesting to note that not a single political analyst or media outlets buy that. So I guess the blue color is too obvious to be ignored.
Well, as we have been saying that a week hardly goes by without Thaksin Shinawatra, Prime Minister, making headlines, right?
Yes, always.
Always. And this time,
now he wants to present himself as a peacemaker.
Peacemaker, that's what he wants to be seen now. Because fresh from his meeting with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and the Sultan of Brunei, the meeting took place in Brunei.
Yeah.
Thaksin flew down to southern Thailand last Sunday on what he touted as a peace mission. It was his first visit to the region in 20 years, and he chose to convey a message that he apparently hoped would signal a new chapter in the decades-long unrest in the three southern provinces of Jala, Pattani, and Narathiwat.
Yeah, but the critics don't really buy that yet. I mean, whether he is genuine in his desire to help bring peace to the region, or is it just another stunt designed to further raise his profile? There's a remark from when he was visiting Narathiwat. Thaksin said that he saw a light at the end of the tunnel for the conflict in southern Thailand. He stopped short of saying what made him that optimistic, despite the fact that violence still continues unabated in the region.
Of course, Thaksin is not the first person to offer an optimistic view of the situation down there. Several high-ranking Thai officials have expressed similar optimism in the past, only for it to prove unfounded.
Yeah.
General Zulkifli Zainal Abidin, the former Malaysian facilitator in the peace talk process between the Thai government and the BRN, the main separatist movement, also expressed confidence that there was prospect for peace in the region. I see light at the end of the tunnel. He used exactly the same phrase as Thaksin in an interview with Thai BBS World a few months before Prime Minister Anwar replaced him as the peace talk facilitator last July.
Zulkifli's optimism proved to be false hope, though, as violence in the parts of the country persist and the peace talks suspended. So we can say that there is currently a vacuum in the peace process, as the Paetongtarn government has yet to appoint a new peace talk team to return to the negotiation table.
A source close to Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Paetongtarn told Thai PBS World that there are doubts on the part of the Thai government that it might have not talked to the right persons representing the separatist movements. And that explains why the government of Prime Minister Paetongtarn is reluctant to resume the peace talk at this juncture. And Thaksin said he visited the South in his capacity as an advisor to the Malaysian Prime Minister, who serves as this year's ASEAN chair. Anwar has said he is committed to helping Thailand find a peaceful solution to the violence in that part of the country. And it did not come as a total surprise that Thaksin asked for pardon from people in the South for what he admitted to be blunders made by his administration back in 2004. He did not refer to any specific incidents.
Yeah, as we mentioned in our program last week, there is something personal about Thaksin's renewed enthusiasm in trying to bring peace back to the South. Critics believe that Thaksin wants to exonerate himself from the blame that he was responsible for the worsening of the conflict in the region with his hardline policy while he was in power. And Thaksin said, "I hope that we can see a prospect of peace in the South this year, and things will be perfect next year." I mean, that is very optimistic.
Yeah. And he also expressed hope that peace will return to the region under the government of his daughter, Prime Minister Paetongtarn. Nobody knows what makes him so confident that peace can be achieved on his daughter's watch as Prime Minister.
Of course, there are mixed reactions from this. Many welcomed the request for his pardon, hoping it would make a new beginning for serious efforts to resolve the conflict, but others questioned his motive as well.
Ramadan Panjor, an MP of the People's Party and a member of the House Committee dealing with the conflicts in the South, said Thaksin's request for pardon came too little, too late. He said there would have been more impact if Thaksin visited the South and asked for a pardon before the statute of limitations of the Tak Bai massacre case expired last October. He was referring to the incident in 2004 in which 7 protesters were killed when security forces cracked down on a rally in front of the Tak Bai police station in Tak Bai district of Narathiwat province. Another 78 were suffocated to death during transport from the rally site to an army camp.
Yeah, Thaksin was prime minister then at the time, but he denied responsibility for what happened. Then we have a peace activist, Muhammad Aladi Dengni. He said that it was long overdue to request a pardon by Thaksin, and he said what needs to be done is a serious review of the approach in dealing with the conflict in the region and an immediate stop to harassments of local activists by the authorities. Yeah. We also have Dr. Shayanit Punyarat of the political science of Thammasat University, who questioned Thaksin's self-imposed deadline to end the conflict in the South by next year without offering any concrete idea on how it can be achieved. He said, what is important is not when the conflict will be resolved, but how it will be resolved.
No, while he did not elaborate on how the conflict will be resolved, Thaksin ruled out the use of force in dealing with the violence in the 3 provinces. He also floated the idea of reintroducing the amnesty program for communist insurgents implemented by the government of Prime Minister Premtin Suranon in the early 80s. We should take note of Thaksin's observation that he received a far more friendly reception from the local people this time than he did when he was in the area as Prime Minister many years back. And this is what he had to say.
Yeah.
Back then, all I saw were stern faces, but this time the atmosphere is much different, which is a good sign. But I have to say that the friendly faces Thaksin referred to certainly did not include civil society activists who posted pictures online holding blank pieces of paper with the hashtags in Thai, blank and Tak Bai still breathing. They also included a caption, 20 years justice for Tak Bai, suspect scot-free.
Yeah, there was also just an hour before he landed at Narathiwat airport, a bomb went off. A bomb went off near the control tower there, so Thaksin tried to put up a brave face, saying that he was not intimidated by the incident, which fortunately caused no injury and only limited damage. So we believe that the message from the activists and the airport bomb are a good reminder for Thaksin that his endeavor to deal with the conflict in the South will not be an easy one.
So are there clacks or are there not clacks among the coalition government parties?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask a politician, they would say no. But if you ask a lot of political observers in Thailand, they would say, yeah, maybe, yes. Let's look at this video clip that's been on the news this week.
รีบกดมือเชิญท่านอนุทินเลยนะคะเดี๋ยวเขาจะว่าเราลอยแล้วรีบก่อนมาจับมืออ๋อนี่แล้วด้วยเหรอคะยังไงแตกเลยนี่ไม่ใจไม่ได้
So speaking to reporters, she also had some comments about the so-called crack between the government coalition parties that's been in the news lately.
ข่าวลือไปเรื่อยนะคะแต่จริงตัวดิฉันเองท่านนอกรอบที่ไม่ได้ทำงานจริงก็หยอกล้อเล่นกับท่านรองนายกอยู่แล้วค่ะ
Yeah. So is it really just a rumor to be joked about, or is there something serious under the surface between the parties in the government coalition? The Prime Minister made light of the situation, but the media seems to see it differently. So if we look at this headline, it says, "The Gathering Storm," which could refer to many issues that they meaning the Pheu Thai party and the Phum Jai Thai party disagree on, So we've already named a few, but we're just going to recap for you briefly. So one of the issue is the collusion of the Senate election that we talked about earlier. That's still on the table, and the DSI is going to decide whether or not to take up the case on March 6th. Also, secondly, remember the week before last, we talked about the proposal to amend the constitution in which MPs from Phum Jai Thai party boycotted the joint parliamentary session. And then there's a third example. We always say this. It is obvious that they will have to compete in the next general election, the two parties. So the rumors about efforts to mend the rifts between Phum Jai Thai and Pheu Thai party even extends to the Prime Minister's father, Paetongtarn Shinawatra. I think if you remember the news picture of Kun Nevin Chichov at a hotel,
Yes,
the reporters were speculating. So
looked like he was waiting for someone.
there were rumors to be meeting, but it didn't happen. So one is the patriarch of the Pheu Thai party, another is an influential person with links to the Phum Jai Thai party. They call it the head teacher.
And the rumored meeting between the two was supposed to pave the way for them to patch things up. But of course, when it turned out that it was just pure rumor. And both sides denied there were plans for them to meet anyway.
Yeah, the Thai media like to use the word clear jai, which means to resolve issues. Turns out it was just a rumor. The two did not meet. So while observers of Thai politics seem to think that there's a rift or gathering storm, here are the politicians making efforts to dispel the rumors. So they went to dinner together.
That's how they patch things up. They meet over dinner,
Yep.
talk things out, and come out and have a group photo.
Yeah, so the coalition partners attended a dinner meeting at one of the poshest hotels in Bangkok. And Kun Anutin Chanvirakul, the Deputy Prime Minister, Interior Minister from the Phum Jai Thai party, said something interesting too. So while he asked the media not to link everything to politics, he said, "We chose this hotel for convenience, and there are many things on the menu, like spaghetti bolognese, but no gao lao."
No gao lao.
Yeah, gao lao. We need to explain this menu, I guess. So for our viewers who are not familiar with this menu, gao lao is basically a soup. It's made in the same way as a noodle soup, but without adding the noodle. So it is a term which is used as a metaphor, used a lot in politics actually,
Yes.
for people who don't get along, because you don't have the strings that represents a good relationship. So no gao lao simply means they do get along well.
That's right. So if you have problems with your friends or your partners, then you would say that you are gao lao.
Yeah,
right?
but at the moment, there are noodles. The irony is that while asking reporters not to link things to politics, Kun Anutin himself linked that menu to politics. So I guess, is it his subconscious reflecting the situation at hand, or is it just a joke? We'll leave it for you to decide.
I think what is most interesting is that everything that happens is always seen through the political lens.
Yeah.
And even how the dinner bill that was settled also drew scrutiny from political analysts for hidden meaning.
Yeah.
In previous gatherings of coalition party leaders, the host typically covered the bill, right?
Yes.
I invite you to have dinner with me, then you just eat.
Exactly.
drink, enjoy
Isn't that
yourself,
normal practice?
Go home. And then. However, this time around, the host, Kun Anutin was the host. He suggested from the start that the guests share the cost. As a result, everyone pay for their share, each contributing 7,000 baht for the meal. So what was the hidden message? According to some commentators, Anutin intentionally used this gesture as a wake-up call,
Right.
signaling that all coalition parties must remain united ahead of the upcoming no-confidence debate. And sharing the dinner bill was meant to symbolize solidarity, reinforcing that they are in this together. Because, as we all know, that the gathering took place just before the no-confidence debate planned by the opposition parties.
Yeah, that's right.
The motion was submitted to the House Speaker earlier this week, amid reports of rising tensions among coalition partners.
Yeah. So I guess what Kun Anutin was asking reporters was easier said than done, because you can't just not link things to politics when you're talking about politicians. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so there's plenty to watch out in the coming week.
Exactly. So I guess that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week.
See you then.
Bye.